ladies' man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once, they use me. My mother said it was naughty, but I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very
The benches are clearing.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is brought to you by Mr. Ned Custom Men's Suiting in New York City. Whether you're a professional athlete, celebrity, or just a couple of softball bums like us, if you're ready to ditch the old dusty suit and stop dressing like an animal, visit Mr. Ned, located at 137 5th Avenue, New York City, and tell Varm Hilly and Lolly sent you. Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the Debrief Dust Up sessions as we look at a duster on old Hilly's face there. Hey, three weeks in. 3 weeks in, and we never mentioned it. Hey, looks good,
3
man.
weeks.
Looks
3 weeks today.
Got updates to the 10-day mark, and then it just fell off hard from there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, I've known you a long time. Never seen you with a big old duster mustache. I'm proud of you. I love it. Keep it going, man. Excellent.
Big old is probably
It's a bit of a stretch.
She's a work in progress here. That's like let's not get it twisted.
Now, folks, we don't know how long this whole experiment's going to last. So if you follow the guy on social media, you know, check in every now and then, see how the duster is going. But we're back for our second of 2 debrief sessions with Brad Ezekiel. We got a wicked topic, one of my favorite ones, hitting under pressure. Hilly, how important is this topic? For a young ball player, an up and coming ball player to, learn the subtle nuances and what goes through preparing for and executing in a big situation at the plate.
Yeah, well, like they say, one swing at a bat can change the complexion of a game, right? Can change the outcome of a game. So, like, you could be having the tournament of your life or the game of your life, or on the other end, you might be doing the shits. You might just be having a brutal tournament or a brutal game. But when you get up in a big spot, in a big game against a big pitcher, and you get a big hit, all that goes away, right? So, but then it comes back to, being prepared for that moment, right?
Yeah. And Shalesy, I think this is a pretty good group to talk about this topic in general, but the guests we got on again back here with Bradley, this is going to be a great chat with one of the best hitters in the game when we just talked to him about being one of the best defensive players in the game. But this is going to be great having Bradley back on, eh?
Oh, yeah. Who better to talk to about pressure hitting than one of the best to ever do it? So, no, we've got a pretty good group here to have a chat about it, and I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah. So, Brad, welcome. This might be 2 weeks since people hear your voice, but we're just jumped on. But that was a great first topic we talked to you about. But what are your thoughts going into hitting under pressure?
It's all situational, but when the game is on the line, you got to be the one that you got to want to be at the plate in those situations. You got to go up there and you pretty much got to tell yourself you're going to get it done. This pitcher is not going to get you out. You got to have the confidence. You can't let your at bat change because it's the bottom of the 7th in the biggest game of the tournament. It's just another at bat. Go up there, be prepared, have a plan, and if you get your pitch, fucking crush it.
Right. And you talk about pressure too, and like I'm a firm believer. Like, what is pressure to you? Like, how do you handle pressure? Do you feel pressure? Because I'm a firm believer of the more prepared you are, the more scouting you've done, the more homework you've done against this pitcher. Do you have a little black book? Do you remember your previous 2, 3, 4, 5 at bats? What are his strengths, weaknesses? What did you have success on? All those things can kind of alleviate most of that pressure.
Obviously, you got to know what the pitcher has got you out on in previous at bats. If you don't know that, then you're just not trying. But when it comes down to it, being prepared, knowing who you're up against, knowing his best pitch, knowing what he's going to try to get you out on. And for me, for example, if I'm facing Andrew Kirkpatrick, I faced him 1,000 times. He's one of the best pitchers to ever do it. But if I see the pitch that I'm looking for from him, I'm hoping that I'm going to crush it. And, it doesn't change with all of those guys that you faced 1,000 times. When you get your pitch, you got to hit it, because with those good pitchers, you're probably only getting one. And if you let that go, then, it gets tougher every pitch, and just preparation.
Yeah. Shalesy, to you on this. So we're speaking now from a position of drawing on a lot of previous experience, right? Your last big pressure moment down in New Zealand, right? You're drawing on 15 years of pressure moments. For a young listener who may have not have been in that many of these situations, can you think back to maybe when you first got exposed to a big moment where, as they say, that the game is on your back, on your shoulders? How do you approach it when you don't get to draw on 15 to 20 years of experience at this point? And then maybe what you can pass on, what you've learned over the years from that point.
This comes back to one of the things I believe truly in, and it comes back to in practice. Practice what you wish you could do. Try something different. Try and put yourself in as many weird different positions as possible. But for me, every at bat like that comes down to that's what I prepare for. That's what I work towards. That's what I want to get to. I want to get to that position because I've trained hard enough and I've done my research that I know in that position, this is what I want to do. So in those positions, that's what helps you feel a lot more comfortable knowing that you've already gone through this in your head. What kid hasn't gone, all right, 3-2, bottom of the ninth, loaded bases, 2 out, full count, away we go. You always do that in the backyard. So why not try and get in that mindset when you're going to the plate? You're going to win that situation. You're always ready for it.
Yeah, I love that take, right? If you haven't been there, visualize as if you have been. Put yourself in practice situations to at least feel the emotions, right? Rather than just getting up and doing another round of BP. Yeah, it's great. So rather than you answer the second question, Hilly, I want to throw it to you. Yeah, I call you championship game Hilly in the ISC final, right? You've gotten so many of these big hits. Back when you hit the game go ahead, which ended up being the game winning home run against Cleary in 2015, and then when you got the bases clearing hit in 2021, you're drawn on a lot of experience then. Maybe talk about the 2015 one first. So you have a bit of experience, some success, some failure. You're getting up with the game on your line. Walk us through what went through your mind when you came up against Cleary in 2015.
Yeah, so I mean, I know Sean well. Sean knows me well, so there was a familiarity on both sides, right? So, and that particular at bat, we had runners on second and third, right?
Yes,
I believe they called campaign was catching, and I believe he called 2 or 3 timeouts during that at bat, and I believe it went to a full count, or it was 2-2, and I was just in the mindset that Sean was going to try to strike me out because the ground ball would have scored a run, the sac fly would have scored a run. I guess it was a strikeout situation for him. I guess you talk about pressure, but I didn't feel a whole lot of pressure because of that familiarity aspect. And I've seen these pitches. I've seen all his changeups, all his rise balls, all his drop balls. Those are very good pitches. But, I just had that belief in myself that, okay, we're in a battle here now. I'm not going to lose this battle, or at least I'm going to try my damnedest to not lose this battle. And I will say I was not expecting a changeup in that situation. And he did throw a changeup after a mound visit. He came back and first pitch was a changeup, and I was lucky enough to keep back on it just enough that I hit it pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it was just it's just one of those things, right? You get locked in, and I think we've seen 6 or 7 pitches in that at bat. The more pitches you see, and the more confidence you get in an at bat, right? So that's kind of how I took that one.
Yeah, and it was an awesome at bat, right? And we talked about earlier, there's a bunch of situations that come into what might amount to pressure. It could be you may struggle with the pitcher. It could be you get caught up in your head about the what ifs if you get a hit or if you strike out. Or it could be maybe you're not having the tournament of your life, or you are having the tournament of life and you're going in with a lot of confidence in how you're playing, or you're not. Now, Bradley, this probably will be the only time anyone ever talks about you being in a slump, but I want to talk about the Pan Am Games. It was a slump statistically, right? From what you're used to seeing for you, but you come up in the championship game. There's a lot of pressure riding on the outcome of this game, not just the outcome of your at bat. Canada has never lost a gold medal in men's softball. We just came off winning the first WBSC in 23 years, and you're stepping into the batter's box against Venezuela in this at bat, not having the statistical type tournament that you've come. So for the listeners that are out there that are getting up in a situation like you did, what did you draw on? What went through your head that led to that game-winning home run that you hit?
Yeah, like you said, I was having a tough tournament. I was actually surprised I was still in the lineup at that point. In a game of such magnitude, I don't think I had a hit all tournament. But going back to the situation, I didn't try to change too much. Facing Eric Urbanea as much as we did that year, I went back to the WBSC semifinal game we played then. The home run I hit off him was an inside drop-off. And when I went to the plate, it was actually funny. They made a defensive change to left field when I stepped up to the plate. So I was like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I think he's gonna come inside, just based on that. But like going back to what I hit, I didn't think he was gonna go there, because I did hit a home run off him pretty well at the WBSC a week before. But I said to myself, in this situation, this is the pitch I want to hit. If I get that pitch, I want to do something good with it. And sure enough, it came inside with the dipper, and I managed to bang it out over the fence. But in a game like that, you really try to stick with what you've had success. I just managed to get the pitch I was looking for, and did something good with it.
We're talking about elite level here again, folks, and it's just the wherewithal to even recognize that what a defensive change in left field might mean strategically on their end, right? Some people may be so caught up in themselves and in the moment that they're not even seeing what's going on around them, right? But to recognize that they're not going to put them in left field if they don't think the ball has a chance of going to left field, right? And then drawing on that success. That's exactly the type of insight that I was hoping that we would get into on this topic. Shalesy, when we're going through a tournament and say we're behind, I think of several moments when you've come through in the clutch. Back in that 2015 one, we almost lost to, I can't remember who it was, JB or someone, when I don't know if it was Matt or someone else was on the line, and the other Gremlins team. And that was the Peligro team. And this is just one example that's jumping into mind when I say this. So there's two things. Like, every player, in my mind, needs to be prepared when they come to the plate. It's not all on one person's shoulders. How much confidence, but also accountability? So it's a complicated question, I guess. When you know that you got a great team behind you, but you want to come through. Like, you've been in more situations than most people in the game. When you're trailing in a big game, how important is every at bat? And then when you come to the plate with a chance to win the game, what goes through your mind?
So that year in particular, I think we were down one going into the seventh, because I think Roman hit that bomb. For me, most of the time, I'm looking for a ball out over the plate. I'm looking to hit that right center gap every time. And he served it up, and I ended up with a triple. And then you were up next and bounced that one, ended up scoring to tie it up, and then came up again in the 11th or whatever it was, or 9th maybe, sorry. But no, it was just the way that all rolled out. I didn't really feel like we were going to lose that game. Like, every chance that we had, we took advantage of. And yeah, like you said, like I was prepared enough to know that the way that these guys throw me, they like to try and get me chasing, and they just caught too much of the plate.
Yeah. And so one thing, maybe this is for some coaches or players that you're playing on a very talented team. So I can draw on my experience back, let's say 2015. I know we talked about that championship game a lot on this podcast, but not so much lately. But when you're loaded talent, I got up in one of those situations, Shales, that you were talking about earlier, that you dream about. Bases loaded, championship game at home, trailing, and a chance to do it. The things that I drew on, one of the things that gave me a lot of confidence, because I was up with less than 2 outs, right, was knowing that if I didn't get a hit, Hilly's behind me and Hilly is going to get a hit. That one worked out for me. I came up in a very similar situation in 2021 with the game on the line against the Gremlins with bases loaded, and I grounded out to shortstop. But I had the same belief that the guy behind me has put the work in, and if it's left on his shoulders, he's going to get it done. And sure enough, I didn't, but Hilly gets up and wins the game for us. So maybe for coaches trying to create that culture, Hilly, and for players trying to buy into it, not putting too much pressure on yourself. But how do you break that down, Hilly? The accountability on yourself, but not too much pressure on yourself.
Listen, like it's a team sport first and foremost. Not one single player is going to win a game, because it's going to take 9, 10, 11, 12, however many you use. But you got to have that trust level. Like, if you do fail, then you got to have belief that the next guy is going to succeed, and then that guy has to have the faith in the next guy after him that he's going to succeed, because it doesn't always happen that way, right? You're not going to go up and go 3 for 3 every game. The guy behind you is not going to go 3 for 3 every game, right? But you got to have that trust level and that belief that that player has not only believes in himself, but he's put in the work himself, put in the same work that you did their homework, right? Got themselves prepared and to a level to be able to deal with a situation like that.
No, 100%. But when it doesn't go your way in a big situation, right? Like the one I just talked about for me, right? There's choices, there's reactions to that. When you're struggling, how people show up and react can have an impact on the team. Like you said, it's a team sport. But Brad, how important is it for a young player? Say you don't come through in a big at bat, but the game's not over yet. How you react in that situation to try and stay positive. What would you pass along to a young guy that maybe got up and didn't come through in a big at bat, and how you don't carry that over negatively to the team?
Yeah, I mean, you take the few negatives from the at bat, and you think about it for a second, and then it's gone. Then you get ready for whatever comes next. But if you don't succeed, there's always going to be another time. So say to yourself, okay, I'm going to get them next time. It's as simple as that. You don't pout and get in and let your teammates see that your head is down, you're throwing your bat, you're throwing your helmet, stuff like that. So that's definitely a big part of it, just staying composed and focusing on what you can do to help your team the next time you get the chance.
And if you look at it, like, I'd be interested in the stats. If you look at it, like we've all had good games, bad games, really good tournaments where you're on fire, you go off, or really bad tournaments where you just stink it up, right? If you look at a lot of the big games, the championship games, and the guys who clutch up and come through with the big hit, a lot of times they're not the guys who've been raking all week, because those guys are not getting the pitches. You know what I mean? Or I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Like a lot of times,
Yeah.
so you could be, you could be 3 for 20 going into that game. If you're still in the lineup, good for you. You must be really good. But, but you could be 3 for 20 and get up and hit a single at the middle to win a gold medal at an ISF.
Well, how fortunate were we, right? Especially in the 2012 to 2015 range to have Dale Levy on our team, right? Shalesy, you know this better than most. And we talked about it in his episode. And you never know what the situation is going to bring. You never know when your name is going to be called upon. Now, that guy was batting third, hitting bombs and winning tournaments for many, many years. He's paid his due as a top hitter in any lineup. But as he transitioned through, he accepted a new role, but he was being prepared to come in a big moment when you're not drawing on that whole tournament worth of experience, maybe not even a whole lot of at bats in a season. You know, what it takes to be prepared to come in when you're tapped on the shoulder at any point. So Shalesy, specific to that topic and maybe to Red in particular, you know, as Hilly just said, sometimes it's not the number 3, 4, 5 hitter that are coming in on their fourth at bat winning the game. It could be someone that's coming in a pinch hit situation doing it. And we've seen Red do it time and time again. Oh. What can you say about that scenario?
100%. We've seen it plenty of times. Calvin Miller coming up with some big hits, Craig Crawford, Big Red. Big Red's a prime example. For years, everyone sort of had the tell on Red. You got it above his hands and you were fine. Then he finally figured that out and started getting on top of the ball, and they had nowhere to go. So he was just very, very smart with how he approached everything, and he took it the way that he should have. He wasn't trying to do too much with it. He was really trying to put the ball in play, and the way he approached his at-bats later on in his career was just a testament to who he was earlier in his career as well.
I'm going to talk specifically now to a listener out there who might be young coming up, that's not been in these situations as many times as we have, or someone that's could be in the game for a long time and haven't just had the opportunity to get up in those situations. Pressure is what we're talking about here. Now, we talked about some of the scenarios that can lead to pressure, but if you're feeling it, it's probably because you're thinking too much, right? And there is a physical element to pressure. I found that's something I had to cope with and develop techniques to deal with in the moment, right? Like sometimes if you get up in a pressure situation, your knee might start to shake, or you feel a little bit of that pressure in your chest, or your thoughts get ahead of you and you're not in that zone. Brad, do you have any techniques? Maybe you don't feel those type of things anymore, but do you have any techniques to kind of keep yourself in the moment, to give yourself the best shot to be successful when the game is on the line and maybe you're starting to feel some of that physical stress of the moment?
Yeah, when your knees are fucking shaking.
Absolutely.
When Hilly's on the mound and
yeah, no, but we all go through it, right? Like it's part of being in that big situation. Early on in my career, I was lucky enough to play in big games at a young age, and the way I felt going into certain at bats then is definitely much different than the last, say, 5-6 years. But, I always tried to, before going out on deck, telling myself, it's just another at-bat. If he throws it over the plate, hit it. What's the worst that can happen? If he gets you out, so be it. Obviously, you got to have that confidence that he's not going to get you out. And, you want to be successful and you want to help your team. But as for the pressure side, like later in my career, I honestly just think that no pitcher can get me out in certain situations, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. As a younger player, obviously it's not like that, but like so many big games, it does get easier. It really does, and it's cool when it gets to that point. And hopefully, I have a few more big games into me. But it's pretty cool.
And for that younger player too, sorry, Steve, that younger player too, like it's relieving to know that. Or it should be relieving to know that the older guys, the vets, the leaders on that team they're all rooting for you in that situation. They want you to be there. They want you to get that experience, right? They're glad that you're getting that experience because we've all been there. We've been that young guy with our knees shaking and all that stuff in the big situations, right? We've been there. So that's like, it's comforting to know when we take these guys under our wing that's, how we feel about them.
Yeah, but when we were younger, it was like I personally loved every second of it because they didn't know where I liked, where I didn't like. Like when you're younger, go out. Most pitchers don't know your strengths. They don't know your weaknesses. You haven't been around long enough for them to know. So they're going to throw one in your wheelhouse. When they do, take advantage of it. Jump all over it. That's why we got to where we are, because every time someone threw it in our wheelhouse, we crushed it. And now, like Bradley said, over the last 5, 6, 10 years for some of us, pitchers start to figure you out. They start to find out your holes, your weaknesses, and you start to adapt your swing over the years and try and work with it. But being young and going into these at-bats, have fun, man. They're going to throw one in your wheelhouse. Take advantage of it. Fucking crush it.
Yeah, and that is key right there too, because this specific question is geared towards that young person who is coming up, right? And let's say it's a young person who joins Hill United or doing their first stint on Team Canada or their respective national team. There's a couple of things it's going to take from what each of you guys just said. One, have fun, Shalesy. I'm glad that you said that. These moments are something you're going to remember, good, bad, or indifferent. If you're not successful, you're going to learn. And when I'm drawing back on when I got up in these situations on a big team, it's natural to think that if you don't be successful in that moment, that you're letting your team down. And maybe these veterans or other guys are going to look at you differently and be disappointed and maybe not like you. You know, Hilly just hit it on the head. Everyone's rooting for you, and everyone's been in these situations and they've gotten up and they failed. The fact that you're in the fight and you're in the batter's box and you're going through it, you get the nod of respect. But you don't want to be in there afraid, defensive. You know, go in there and don't be afraid to fail and don't be afraid to succeed. You'll give yourself the shot. And like you said, Shalesy, when people don't know you, it's an advantage, or don't know you as well. Get your pitch. Like, the worst thing that can happen in a situation like that is you're looking for a dipper, middle out, thigh high. You get it, and you're too wound up that you can't swing. Get up there and be ready to hit the pitch that's coming in, right? And if you're not successful, it's not like they're going to kick you off the team, right? Or you're going to be there. And we've all failed multiple times, right? Sometimes I've done it 2 or 3 times where the tournament ended because I either swung the bat and missed or didn't swing and got called out, right? So that's one of the takeaways, is don't put too much pressure and don't read in too much to the outcome, but just give yourself a shot in the moment, because it don't come around too often. We've been lucky to have multiple, but I love this topic, right? There's just a couple of more things I do want to talk about on this before we wrap it up.
Yeah, and before we wrap it up, Lolly, I'll give you one little quick story about a young hitter feeling pressure, and that was myself, where it didn't go my way. I remember we were playing the gold medal game at Nationals here in St. John's in 2007 against Vancouver. We were down 1-0 in the bottom of the 7th, 1 out with a runner on first, and I was at the plate, and this would be your classic, your knee knocking moment, right? So I remember Corey Guru threw the first 2 pitches for balls, and I look at Sean O'Brien on deck. I say, Sean, as if to say, like, what the fuck do I do here? Sean, am I hacking here, or am I waiting for him to throw another ball or see if he throws a strike, or what am I doing, basically? He looked at me and he said, Hilly, he said, if he comes with a strike, he said, you fucking rip at it. Do your thing. Do you. So the very next pitch, he throws me a high drop. I one hop it to first base. They turn a double play. We lose the Nationals. We get silver. So obviously pretty shitty. We're pretty down. I'm pretty disappointed in myself. Feel like I let the team down. And not one person had anything bad to say. I remember being out at the beer tent and a couple of boys wrapping their arms around me. I'm down the dumps wrapping their arms around me. He said, you know what, Hill, yeah, that sucks right now. But guess what? That's going to make you better down the road. You're going to learn from that. Yada, those type of deals, right? So that's your teammates rooting for you. Sometimes you're the hero. Sometimes it doesn't work out. That's sports. That's the way it goes. So,
but we've all been there. And that's why it's great to sit down and pat each other on the back about all the big moments that we've been fortunate enough to come up and, but that's not the full picture here, right? So that's there's a whole other side of the game, Shalesy, that has to deal with, defeat, right? And it's an important part of hitting under pressure, because this is not called succeeding under pressure. It's called hitting under pressure, right? So I think it's an important topic from that aspect, Shalesy.
I mean, we've been there, we've done it, we've had a lot of fun with it over the years. But sometimes you're going to run into some pretty hot pitching, and there's only so much you can do. And you succeed 3 times out of 10 in our sport, and you're a Hall of Famer. So we've all 4 of us have done pretty well over our careers and hitting under pressure, and a couple of us might continue to do it.
Brad, having you on to chat with us on this topic this is exactly how I wanted it to be. We talked a little bit about the failure, but Jesus, the guys home run to win the Pan Am games, home runs in probably every big moment you can have in the sport, walk off in Canadians, multiple, it's almost automatic, when you come up. And the last topic I want to talk about, and you brought it up earlier, Bradley, was hitting under pressure the pressure's not just on the hitter in that moment, right? And you're drawing on a bunch of experience now. So your confidence level is high, right? Shermanator. Remember, confidence level is high. American Pie. The pressure that's on the pitcher in that moment with a Brad Ezekiel coming up to bat, do you use that to your advantage now when you step in the batter's box, knowing that this is not a one-way street in the pressure department? How do you look at it from the pitcher's perspective and use it to your advantage now?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Like you just talked about, over the years, all of these moments have molded each one of us into the player that we have become. And as for me feeling pressure going into a big situation, I'm sure, the pitcher probably feels the same amount of pressure. So essentially, you want him to make a mistake as much as he wants you to make one. But if he makes a mistake, you've got to capitalize, because the pitchers are so good these days. People are throwing 86 miles an hour these days. If they make a mistake, you really got to capitalize. I hope they feel that same pressure when I come to the plate as I do to face them. Yeah,
that's a very good point too. For Nicky, for the young hitter, you might feel pressure, but guess what? So does that guy you're facing. That pitcher doesn't want to throw a 30-foot drop ball, and then all of a sudden runners advance or a game-winning run scores on a pass ball or what have you. Right? They're feeling the same goddamn pressure.
Throw it over the plate, boy.
That's it.
Do it. I dare you.
Yeah.
I'm stepping into the box. You throw it over that plate. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like we talked about the full spectrum of this, being young without experience, being nervous with the knees knocking, to gone through the full gamut. You're almost feeling comfortable in those positions now and drawing on it. But the one thing now, as you progress through your career, young listener out there, draw on these experiences, but get up in the batter's box and say, you're not getting me out. Yeah, you got to get me out, right? Because I'm getting a hit. You need to be your best right now to beat me, rather than getting up there saying, oh, I hope he makes a mistake. We all want him to make a mistake, but when you're really locked in these situations, say, I don't care what he throws. He can throw the freaking thing overhand, cutting down up my back ankle. We're going to hit it, right? So have the confidence in yourself, but confidence comes from preparation. It's a great topic. We're going to wrap it up here. Boys, we're back. Another couple of debrief sessions. And Brad, these 2 topics we got to talk to you about tonight, I hope our listeners get to take away a lot from it. Thanks for coming back on the podcast with us, buddy.
Happy to do it with you fellas. And, I feel more pressure in these situations than I do in the bottom of the seventh with the game on the line. So, no, it's awesome topics, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy, it went pretty good, and I'm glad you guys had a few good words to say about me. So,
yeah, another great topic, Shalesy. Another great debrief session. I'm looking forward to doing more of these as we get through the summer.
Yes, man. Getting always good on here with you boys, and having Bradley on was second to none as always. But the only pressure I'm feeling right now is I've got a little bit of anxiety for Hilly's top lip there. It's getting deadly. Oh, look at it, Jesus! That's going to be weighing you down by now, doesn't it?
I always get nervous around the beginning of all season, right? Because the fucking boys might spring up. Oh, for ICs, we're going to grow a beard, or we're going to do a Fu Manchu. Like, I need warning for these things, right? I need warning. So I'm just being proactive here. I'm just being proactive here, right?
By the looks, you need a head start. That's for sure.
At the very least, we got a good start from November. So
That's right. Excellent. Well, there we go. Well, maybe we'll change it to the dust upper lip debrief session. We'll go from there. Thanks, Zeke, buddy. We got Lucas and Nick here. A little bit of rum ragged to take us out.
Get out of here! I told you, Mr. Drama. I used to be a ladies' man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once, they used me. Bye-bye, baseball! My mother said it was naughty, but I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very